Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Picture this. It's a freezing winter night in Seattle. 8:13 p.m., on the dot, the city's emergency dispatch center gets a frantic 911 call. The voice on the other end is a woman, and she sounds absolutely terrified. Through these heavy, panicked breaths, she manages to gasp out, "He's here. Please help me. He's inside the house." And then, out of nowhere, the line goes dead. The dispatcher frantically tries calling back, but there's no answer. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're digging into a completely wild case known as the basement shadow. We're going to look at exactly how a missing woman, a literal locked room mystery, and some seriously advanced audio forensics all collided to not just solve a baffling crime, but actually save a life. It's a fascinating look at how the tiniest overlooked details can break a case wide open. Part 1. An impossible crime scene. So police get to the house literally minutes after that call drops. And what they find, or rather what they don't find, is totally baffling. Think about it. On the 911 tape, you hear pure visceral terror. But inside the home of Emily Parker, who, by the way, was a 32-year-old graphic designer living alone, everything looks completely, weirdly normal. The front door is unlocked, lights are casually left on, there's even a cup of coffee sitting on the kitchen table, and it's still warm. But no Emily. There's no blood, no broken windows, and crazy enough, zero signs of a struggle or even footprints. It was like she just vanished into thin air. And as you can probably guess, the initial investigation turned up a big, fat nothing. Police spent weeks trying to map out every possible angle. Did she have personal enemies? Nope. Everyone said she was super cautious and responsible. Financial debts? Nothing. Shady criminal connections? Zero. Investigators were staring at a complete blank slate when it came to physical leads. The whole thing blew up into a massive national news story, but honestly, they were totally stuck. Which brings us to Part 2, the missing audio seconds. All right, so with exactly zero physical evidence to go on, Detective Mark Sullivan steps in, and he does what really great investigators do. He goes right back to square one. He listens to that 911 recording over and over and over again. Now, obviously, the fear in her voice was very real, but he was listening for something else entirely. And eventually, he catches it. A microscopic audio anomaly right before the line cuts out. If you listen really closely, there's this super faint metallic sound in the background. It sounded exactly like a chain dragging across a floor. It's a tiny clue, sure, but it proves something major. Physical movement was definitely happening somewhere in the background of that call. Moving into Section 3, tracing the phantom signal. The case actually sat cold for months. That is, until a technician who was reviewing the emergency call system noticed something really weird about the call routing. This is where signal analysis comes into play. Basically, investigators used advanced tracking and routing data to pinpoint the exact physical origin of that emergency call. They realized they had to completely reevaluate the digital footprint of Emily's original cry for help. And this leads us to the one question that literally blew the whole case wide open. If Emily wasn't in her living room or standing in her kitchen next to that warm cup of coffee, where exactly was that call actually coming from? The signal traced below ground, straight to the basement. Now, you can imagine the police were completely baffled by this. Why? Well, because official city records showed, without a doubt, that Emily's house didn't even have a basement. So to figure out this bizarre architectural puzzle, Detective Sullivan starts digging into ancient building records and old blueprints, and he uncovers this crazy forgotten history. Turns out, back in 1948, the house actually was built with a hidden storage basement, but fast forward a few decades, there's a major renovation, and whoever did the work completely sealed the entrance shut. They basically erased the room from the layout of the home entirely. But in the present day, that undeniable signal analysis data was pointing straight down, tracing Emily's 911 call right to that forgotten underground space. Section 4. The hidden basement. Armed with these old blueprints and a brand new warrant, police rush back to Emily's property. They find a concealed door hidden right behind a closet wall, go down the secret staircase, and honestly, make a terrifying discovery. At the bottom, in this tiny concrete room, they find Emily's dead cell phone. There are food wrappers, water bottles, clear signs that someone had been living down there recently. But the absolute creepiest thing they found, a notebook. And inside, it meticulously tracked Emily's daily routine. Someone had literally been living underneath her floorboards, watching her every move for months. But who was it? Well, the fingerprints left all over the room gave them the answer. Those prints belonged to a guy named Nathan Cole. He was a former contractor who actually worked on the property years earlier, and his whole process was just horrifyingly methodical. You see, while he was renovating the house years ago, he found the hidden basement. He intentionally sealed the entrance to keep it completely hidden from the outside world. He developed this dark obsession with Emily, so he'd secretly return and just watch her. And finally, on that winter night when she must have accidentally found evidence he was there and panicked, he intercepted her 911 call, dragged her down, and abducted her before the cops even showed up at the front door. Which takes us to our final part: rescue and resolution. The race was totally on at this point. 6 agonizing months had passed since the police found that warm cup of coffee on her table. But just 3 days after uncovering the basement, police track Cole down and arrest him in a neighboring state. At first, of course, he denies everything, but police hit him with a mountain of evidence: surveillance photos, maps, audio recordings they found on him. He finally cracks and confesses, leading authorities straight to a remote cabin where, incredibly, Emily Parker was found alive. The whole country was absolutely shocked by this case. The pure psychological terror of a hidden room under your house just really struck a nerve with people. And when it went to trial, the physical and digital evidence was just way too much for him to fight. Nathan Cole was convicted on multiple charges and, thankfully, handed down a life sentence. A few months after the trial wrapped up, reporters were asking Detective Sullivan how he managed to crack what looked like an impossible locked room mystery. And he summed up the sheer power of looking at overlooked digital details with this really chilling quote. He said, "Most people focused on the missing woman. I focused on the missing seconds of that 911 call. Those tiny seconds of faint dragging chains combined with that hidden signal routing data, it totally bypassed the fake story the physical crime scene was telling and pointed investigators straight to the truth." So, as we wrap up today's explainer on how audio forensics and signal tracking actually thwarted a meticulously planned abduction, it really leaves us with a wild realization about the tech we carry around every single day. A basic phone ping did what physical searches just couldn't do. It kind of makes you stop and think, as you go about your normal daily routine, what hidden digital footprints might you be leaving behind in your own life? Thanks so much for joining me today, and remember, always keep questioning the evidence.